one of the people here today, the person coming up next, who is going to talk about scaling climate solutions, a 16-year-old's perspective, is Varin Sikka. He's a student and climate activist. Varin, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Over to you.
Yeah, no, likewise. Thank you guys for having me. I'm just gonna share my screen real quick. All right. Can everyone see the slides all right?
Yep, we can see them.
Cool. All right. Yeah, so hi everyone. My name is, like Sanjeev said, Varin Sikka. I am a 16-year-old high school student from Lab School in the San Francisco Bay Area, as well as a climate activist and entrepreneur. Now, being a climate activist and entrepreneur, right, I do a lot of work and, finding solutions for various problems in the fight for climate change. But I especially have an interest in, the problem of how do we remove carbon from the atmosphere, right? Or direct air capture, as it's called. And it kind of started with, a couple of years ago, I was doing this analysis of kind of the magnitude of this problem, right? So, how much carbon dioxide do we really have to remove? And what are our current, what is the current state of the art? What current tools do we have in actually combating this problem as of now? And this kind of led me down, you could say, a rabbit hole of me trying to find or come up with my own, more scalable, more efficient solutions for direct air capture. And those solutions have, led me to where I am today. So in this talk, I'm kind of going to just give you an overview of my journey thus far and just a little discussion at the end of what's next in terms of the climate fight as a whole, summarized in 5 key points. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the first point, which is, as I mentioned, we face a massive challenge with regards to carbon removal from the atmosphere. And so far, it's only getting bigger, right? There are every year currently, humanity emits around 37 billion tons per year of carbon dioxide. And I really just want to, emphasize that, right? 37 billion, right? So that's 9 zeros after the 37. That's how many tons of carbon dioxide we are emitting into the atmosphere every single year. And that's only contributing to a total of 1,100 billion, again, billion tons since 1890 that we have added to the atmosphere. And this 1,100 plus excess billion tons of carbon dioxide is contributing to the greater and greater temperature extremes and severe weather extremes that we're seeing every year. Every year is seemingly getting like breaking new temperature records that we've never seen before. And if we want to be able to reverse what we're seeing with regards to climate change and global warming, then at least I believe we need to have gigaton scale carbon removal. And that brings us to kind of what the current, state of the art is with regards to carbon removal. So, one of the more kind of thought of as like the, I guess, natural method, simpler method that we'd have kind of built into Earth's ecosystems for direct air capture for capturing carbon dioxide is trees, right, and plants. Um, and while I personally believe that trees are unequivocally pretty awesome, I mean, they counter deforestation, they contribute to recreating habitats for animals, and also just contribute to natural like beauty. They're not, unfortunately, not that effective at carbon dioxide removal, right? It would take just to go net zero. So that means, absorbing the 37 billion tons we emit every year, just absorbing that much would require 1.6 trillion trees, which is a lot. It's about half of all the trees that currently exist on the planet today. And they take up so much space that if with those 1.6 trillion trees would cover the entirety of North America. So you can imagine, right? Alaska down to Panama, covered head to toe in just trees, no roads, nothing, just trees. That's how much space we would need. And then on top of that, those trees would take years to mature before they get to their full, carbon absorbing capacity. So unfortunately, right, they're not that feasible for direct air capture, which leads us to wonder, okay, are there alternative methods, human-made ones that would work for this, right? That can solve our direct air capture woes. And that brings us to the current state of direct air capture facilities, right? Currently, there are 18 facilities around the world capturing a total of 10,000 tons of carbon dioxide per year. And I mean, that's a pretty great start. But if you look at like the largest one of these, which captures around 4,000 tons per year, you would need 10 million of those to go net zero to absorb around 37 billion tons per year. And the other main criticism with current DAC facilities is they take up a lot of energy, right? So if you look at the two main processes involved in a modern DAC facility, there's fanning, which like is basically the process of funneling air, carbon dioxide rich air, into like a system that absorbs the carbon dioxide. You'll have a material called a sorbent that interacts with and binds to your carbon dioxide. And then the second process is desorption, which basically you do some chemical processes to release the trapped carbon dioxide from it and channel it to long-term storage. So when you do that, those between the desorption and the fanning processes, a lot of energy is consumed. So when you're thinking about how to make DAC more efficient, you're thinking not just in terms of increasing absorption capacity, but in terms of reducing energy consumption, right? So this is kind of where my solutions come in. So I've pioneered a solution called AirCat. It's short for air catcher, but I've heard from some friends that it helps to think about a cat flying in midair. Um, but yeah, so the idea simply is wind turbines, right? A form of renewable energy. Plus, as they spin, which is what generates their energy, they leave behind them a massive kind of vortex of air, right? And AirCat leverages that vortex of air as kind of the fanning mechanism. And because this vortex just happens as the wind turbine spins, it doesn't really consume energy or anything. Its net energy impact is none, right? In fact, in a sense, because that spinning action is what allows the wind turbine to generate energy, it, in a sense, produces energy, the fanning process. So then after that, you'll kind of have carbon dioxide go into a sorbent layer, same deal as a typical DAC facility, ambient non-carbon dioxide air goes out the other end. And then comes the desorption. So the trick with the desorption in the AirCat is that wind turbines are so powerful that more than half of the energy they actually could produce gets wasted because the electrical grid is not powerful enough to take all of the energy that it produces. So over half of it doesn't go anywhere. It just gets wasted. And we leverage this wasted energy for the desorption process. And since that wasted energy doesn't go into the grid anyway, the net energy impact on the grid of the AirCat is zero. So the AirCat has zero net power use. So on top of that, AirCat is also compatible with all kinds of state-of-the-art sorbents, and it would also rely on, turbine production and maintenance cycles so that it hinders as little as possible the efficiency of the turbine itself. At the same time, it's also a more efficient design in terms of absorption capacity. According to our calculations, one AirCat the size roughly of a wind turbine that would be placed behind one wind turbine can do around 1,000 tons per day of carbon dioxide. Multiply that by 365, that's, well, 365,000 tons per year of carbon dioxide. So we've also got several kind of variants of the AirCat, based on size. Like I mentioned, it's compatible with all kinds of sorbents too. Location too, so it's actually possible to have residential scale wind turbines, the kind that you can have in your backyard, little ones that will power kind of your home. We've designed a prototype that you can actually place behind a residential scale wind turbine, and it actually works. And now we're currently partnering with industry to make and deploy a demo version of an industrial scale prototype. So yeah, looking forward to that. Now beyond just AirCat and beyond DAC in general, well, first off, there are two other designs that I'm working on in DAC related. But you'll have to stay tuned for those. Hopefully, though, they'll be more scalable, more sustainable than what we've currently got with regards to AirCat. Aside from that, there are many other promising efforts aside from, from other startups, what people are doing that intend to make DAC facilities more energy efficient and more efficient in terms of absorption capacity, like what I'm doing with AirCat, right? But the climate fight extends way beyond just removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, from just, cleaning up that kind of mess we've made in the atmosphere, right? For example, there's also a I guess, more physical, tangible mess that we've made in the oceans, right? That we really have to clean up. Otherwise, it's going to cause severe damage to, marine ecosystems and all that. There's also many severe impacts that climate change is having on water access or access to clean water, because global warming is causing droughts across the world. For example, where I live in California, California has been in a drought for many, many years, and that's really hindering water access for a lot of people in the state. Similarly, it's also hindering food access as natural disasters get worse and destroy farmland and things like that. It's also destroying homes, so that's causing a lot of displacement and migration and lack of, safe shelter for people. And if we want to furthermore prevent these things from happening, then we need a way to kind of prevent this. And that comes from things like creating better, more cleaner, more efficient forms of renewable energy, for example, to give ourselves a power source that is clean and will sustain us for generations to come, right? We also need more eco-friendly industries, the industries that produce for us things like materials critical in building, like cement and steel, or construction industries or transportation industries. These industries need to become more eco-friendly if we want to make a dent in the climate fight. And that starts with all of us, right? So if we want to, there's this saying, right? It takes a village, right? And for a fight the size of, the entirety of humanity, then that village that it takes is also the size of the entirety of humanity. And there are many, many opportunities out there, conferences, contests for people to come up with ideas and contribute in whatever way they want, big or small, to the climate fight. And if we want to be able to make a dent, everyone needs to be contributing, even if it's a small way. So, yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for having me and for listening. And yeah, thank you so much.
Varin, that was just incredible. I mean, it is so inspiring to hear someone like yourself. It's so inspiring to hear someone like yourself, someone so young who is opening our eyes and making us think so seriously about innovative ways in which we can move towards solutions for the climate problem. And you laid out your presentation so clearly and so lucidly. It was just great having you and great listening to you. Looking forward to further engagement with you at Indiaspora over the years. And we'll be in touch, I'm sure, after this event as well. But thank you for speaking with us today.